Welcome again to Grasshopper for Rhino, the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. I'm going to continue with vectors, with the vector tab and go into grid tools. They may seem simple to start, but figuring out what to do with them is kind of important. So I'm going to show some examples of what you can do and build your own geometries. It's very important for people to understand that the point has a lot of attributes, even to begin with something, and how to generate multiple points within different fields using vectors, uh, building your own planes, and then considering surfaces. So I think this is a great tool to start with the grid, where you have hexagons all the way through populating the geometries. What I'm going to do is write a basic script off the start. It'll be on my GitHub. Have a look at it. Basically, we'll jump in here, and I'm going to reduce my numbers to very simple script to make sure it works. I'm going to bring it right down to 1, and I'm going to bring my count of my populating down to 1 as well. My kids are loud again because they always are, and I'm using the hexagon, the hex grid to start, and I'm actually generating the sides you can change, but I've got this pretty parametric in a sense that let's just deal with 1 and see what's happening. I'm moving the x extends and the y extends up, and I'm populating it. I'm populating it with 1 count. That's it. So if you see where I'm basically have my hex grid, I populate it with 1 count in the middle. I take my lines and I explode them. This point is not essential. It's the middle point, but I just pulled it out just to see, just to visualize that within the hexagon. If you hold down shift, you can see the hexagon with that point. You see the populating to there. You can see the exploding of that. And then basically moving that geometry, I basically am just taking that one piece of geometry, moving it up, and having a bit of a parameter in the z-axis where I want to move that to. I'll leave it pretty high just for visualization. And then I draw a line between those points and that, a line between those points and the vertices that are coming out of the exploded curve. So that's basically it, and you end up with that. That's a nice piece of geometry. I pull my lines out. I then build a surface on there. And what I do here, this is fairly interesting. I think you might find it interesting, is I take my vertices, and leave everything, take my vertices, I grab a shift list, which basically lists all of those vertices. And if you don't know what I'm doing here, you're going to want to pull a panel, and the vertices are here. There they are. And if I shift list, and I put that in there, you're going to notice, maybe it'd be best if I just copied this as data, and I show my shift list. You can see it just moves 1 point. And then I grab a list item, and because the shifted list, these are actually look like the same points, but they're just rotated 1 turn, and I have a power to move those lists. I can shift them 1, I can shift them 2, and that will affect the geometry as well. If I don't shift them, then I'm not going to be able to make a surface, so I just leave it at 1. And what I sometimes do is, since I'm going to be using 1, is I'll internalize that data, and then at any times I want to pull that out, extract that, I'm going to get a number, and that's it. That's a good way to just get a number based in there. There's my surface, and then I'm going to build a surface from taking these points and this top point. So I take those points and these the point that's been referenced there in this list item. You can do it by plugging in and starting to pull out all the numbers, but I want it to be parametric and work through different geometries. So this is a pretty cool script. So basically, there you go. You're going to end up being able to grab all those list items and grab 6 surfaces around. And if you look there, you've got 6 trimmed surfaces. And like I said, the param viewer is a great tool to make sure you're not. If you take a look in here, it was interesting that I actually had to throw in a range, go through a domain, and find the list lengths of the segments, and I had to -1 from it, because otherwise I would have ended up with 7, not 6. And those 6 items paired with this 1 item can be merged, and then you've got a wonderful brep. And in doing so, you can take all of this geometry, as long as I fully encase it, and I can turn it to preview off, and I have a really nice parametric model that I can quickly make it bigger, make more of them, and I can actually pull up more in my cloud points and make these very interesting geometries. And you can try and get control of them so they don't all spiral off of that one corner, which is not looking very good. But that said, you've got a shape. You can start playing off of that, pulling them out in different directions. And I'll have to just remedy that because I'm not happy with everything coming off of that corner. But needless to say, I'm not even interested in the script to do that. I basically want a script that I can pull up these wonderful geometries as breps. But the best thing about it is I can then go into the other tools that are in the vector tab under grid, radial, rectangular, square, and triangle. And I can literally grab that data with a control shift and plug it into these cells and you can see radial is going to be a little different. It doesn't work under a 1 or 2 extends R. It has to work under this, but you're getting a very cool geometry. You take a look at it in the top view, you start to realize you're building something pretty cool. You could take that same control shift and pull it down into the squares, and you've got the same type of geometry coming up. Pretty cool. If you grabbed a render, I think it'd be all right to look at. And let's go back into perspective and see what we have in the square base. And the same thing goes again. This is a way to understand Grasshopper, is to actually get in and manipulate this. I have a Populate 2D that does the same as a Populate 3D. That's exactly what I used up here, the Populate 3D, trying to imagine what that's for. And there's one other tool that comes in handy for circles, surfaces, and then populating geometries that stay within that closed circle. So if I turn these on, I think they're off, enable, and if I turn them on, preview on, and I put this on, you can see exactly what I'm doing with these 3 items. Populating with a count. Let's bring the count down to something reasonable so I can see it. You're seeing I'm populating just what's in that geometry. So I'll hold down shift and there you go. And it's not going outside of that to a rectangular border. So those are all the tools within that section. Like I said, they're pretty darn cool. You can cut and plug. Obviously, I want to play a little bit more with this script and find how to remedy when I start pulling this number up. How I can remedy that form that I actually like the geometries being generated instead of coming off that one square. And I'm sure it's just a little bit of data analysis, and I'll figure it out. That and that, I'm going to basically grab it all. Not pretty happy with that. Just going to save my file. And hopefully that's helpful. That'll be sets. That'll be going through vectors 2, the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of Grasshopper for Rhino.